Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the king of podcasts radio network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Bringing it on fresh tonight. SummerSlam is 1 week away, and this is King of Podcasts, episode number 785 here of the Wrestling is Real podcast. And by the way, I made a change, a long-deserved change to the logo. Take a look at it. Tell me what you think. So, a couple of things I want to do with housekeeping just to make sure you know what's going on. Of course, I always give out the wrestlingisreal.com as a domain name, but you know what? I want to make sure everything that I'm doing right now is going to be directed at one place. kingofpodcasts.com. Everything's there. Everything. So when it comes to the three radio shows, the three podcasts I do every week, which is this program, my Broadcasters podcast, which I record on Thursday nights and put out on Friday mornings, and the Praised and Debauchery, which I record on Tuesday nights, go out to Wednesdays. I keep a busy schedule, and I always keep myself pretty busy. But this is the show that matters. Over 10 years here on the program, I'm still no sleight of hand. I'm telling you, I'm still invigorated, excited about what we got for wrestling right now. It's such a good time. So kingofpodcasts.com is where you find everything for the show. You click through there, you'll find Wrestling with Real podcast, go right through, and all the past episodes where you can subscribe. Of course, it's Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you haven't done so, please do rate and review the show. And you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Trends, at King of Podcasts. And remember, I got a YouTube page. If you want to find me there, at King of Podcasts, it's all there for you. Tonight, we're going to talk about the 12-month turnaround. If you remember, it was almost exactly to the year that Triple H assumed creative duties, chief creative officer, after he was away for a while for his own personal medical reasons, remember? And Vince McMahon was grilled in a scandal, which we all talked about. And things were in such a really precarious position for the company because we didn't know what the future was going to be in terms of where Vince was going to be out of the picture and Triple H holding on to power. The broadcasting deals, we weren't sure where that was going to go, and just where the company was going to be coming up. And we know Nick Khan was obviously having some plans on where to go. Vince finds his way back. We've talked about the story extensively on the program. We've chronicled the entire year. Vince gets back in. The deal with Endeavor is made. Vince is back in some kind of as chairman of the board once again, back in play, but Triple H is still staying more or less in creative with the oversight of Vince. Meanwhile, there's of course people out there that are going to go ahead and complain that Vince, is still getting brought into the mix. He's still tinkering with the product. You know what? Whatever. I don't see the kind of issues, or do I care about the issues that we have right now? And I'm not one to compare the Attitude Era or the Rock and Wrestling Era. Listen, everybody can go and do that kind of stuff, that nostalgia kind of feel to it. If I have to see another one of the best SmackDown episodes ever where, here comes Stone Cold, here comes Undertaker, here comes Rock, here comes everybody to come out from the back, and everybody hits their moves. Whatever. This is a different time because of so many different things we have where we have a lot of stars, but it's not all gimmicks. For the matter of fact, we don't have many gimmicks at all. This is the gimmick-free era. We have a lot of realism, a lot of athletes being athletes. The Next in Line program, it's been around, but hasn't really developed any fruit. But what has happened is Triple H just took, in the last 12 months, the current crop of stars that he already had that ran through the NXT system that were already polished. Okay, he established more than credible promos, more than capable in the ring, that have not been run down our throats for a long time, and finally put them in a place where reworking and resetting them back to the roles they were best known for, taking Becky Lynch out of the whole wearing furs and wearing weird glasses and stuff back to the man, taking Matt Riddle and becoming original bro Sure, he might still have all the stuff jumping out of his flip-flops, but either which way, he's not coming down on the scooter anymore. Cody has been booked as well as you can possibly expect. And the Bloodline, the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day is all under Triple H's watch in this 12-month turnaround. Let me put that point clear as well. That was created during the 12-month turnaround. There have been some things that did not go well, but I'm not going to worry about that. Do we want to talk about Damage Control? Do I want to talk about Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae and Tommaso Ciampa and some of the other ones that have just not panned out, Karrion Kross? Do I want to go through that? No. What we want to focus on is what this last year's done to where right now, from SummerSlam last year to SummerSlam this year, what an amazing turnaround. The crowds are invigorated. They're excited. They sell out just about everywhere they go now. The crowds are animated. They're like hooligans in other countries. And what they're pulling off right now, I'm telling you, SummerSlam, Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan, it's going to be a hot crowd. I can imagine how that stadium's going to sound when they have this show coming up next Sunday. Or is it Saturday? I forget. Is it? You know what? I always forget this. Oh, Saturday. Excuse me. It is Saturday. Huh. I got to change that in my write-up. So it's all done. And you got some great matches leading up to next weekend. I mean, the card is very solid when you look across the board. Even when they decide to have the last, couple of months to inject a various amount of main roster stars into the NXT step, it's worked effectively. When you brought in Seth Rollins for a shot to go up against Braun Breaker, right? And Braun Breaker getting a challenge to go after the title. Yeah. And that popped the number. Dominic Mysterio, Judgment Day, infiltrating NXT, taking the North American title. Wonderful. It's working. Dare I say this? I would not be against the storyline. And you know what? You're going to hate me for saying this. But I wouldn't be against the storyline if the main roster stars, the heels, came in and took up the belts. Okay? If Carmelo Hayes dropped the belt to someone, maybe Judgment Day, somebody else. The tag team title, same way. The women's title, same way. I would really love that. I think that would be, to me, it would come off so cool and so interesting. I would like that. Because I think that would invigorate a lot of interest in NXT. Not only that, but also, then you need to get some stars coming in to really build back up these NXT stars to give them something to do. Because they need a comeuppance. Because them against each other is not doing it at all. Look, I'm looking at the Great American Bash they got coming up next week or this weekend. If you had to ask me about the matches, sure. Dominic defending against Mustafa Ali and Wes Lee. Dominic's going to win. I don't see why they don't do that. Carmelo against Ilya Dragunov, that's a nice match. Don't get me wrong. This could be a good match. But is it really going to make any difference towards the main roster? I don't know. I don't see where Carmelo Hayes really gives me anything at all to put him up to that main roster. Him with Trick Williams? No. They're very bland. Gallus? No, not either. Tony the Angel and Stacks? Not them either. I'm just looking at it all. Roxanne Perez, Blair Davenport. If I want me like a little take back to like maybe going back to the Indies or Ring of Honor, sure. Baron Corbin staying down there, working with Gable Steveson. We need to have something where some of these main roster stars are able to come back down, or just get some of the other people down there to help build back up some stars at NXT, because they really badly need it right now. They're just not doing it at all, especially against each other. It's just not working. There has to be something more. But that's enough about NXT for next week. If you just go back to where we were to the start of last year, to July last year, and where things are now, like roughly 368 days ago, I did a special edition of Wrestling is Real where Vince McMahon resigned. which was an incredibly episode 707. Ridiculously crazy day because we didn't know what was going to happen to the company, the contingency plan. No idea what was going to be. But he retired as WWE chairman, and then the internal letter was sent to talent regarding announcing retirement. Everything all changed, and it was all that was going on. And then we get away from this, and the change going forward. And I complained about the fact about Triple H. What was he going to do after the fact that he became head of creative? And basically after the fact where NXT, they changed their format, went from black and gold to Rainbow 2.0, lost to AEW in that initial Wednesday night war, and then he comes over here. Now, I think what's happened is that Triple H, in his work, has done the right thing to change things around. That's what I really think has happened. He's changed things around to the point where, I mean, you can't help but just notice the difference now. It's such a big difference. You have to like it. I mean, what they've done so far to turn things around is commendable. If you go back, and we talked, first of all, about SummerSlam last year being a statement. A number of things changed right off the bat. Because then you had factions coming into play that Triple H wanted to make the point off. Bring back factions, bring back some managers, and certain things just to kind of, really to change things up and to honestly create a little more stuff going on in the ring as people are watching. Get the microphones in there a little bit closer to start hearing what's going on. Create some viral moments. And that's been done right now. So when you look at this time last year, Bianca Belair beat Becky Lynch, and then Becky turns face and she got hurt, right? And then Damage Control, which by all accounts just does not work well. Now, there's still a semblance of that as we speak going on, but it didn't really do well. Theory was squashed for the U.S. title, but look at the way they build him back up. And now what they've been doing with tournaments, whether it's the women's tag team titles, whether it was the U.S. title, whether it was the IC title, or with the World Championship title, tournaments. They've done that to really build things up, which was good. And then you have the part where it was, last year, the Mysterios were still together against Judgment Day. And just a certain number of storylines that have really just paid off so well. Because remember, this time last year, you were starting to get the whole feel where Sami Zayn was trying to get himself in with the Bloodline, and Dominic Mysterio was eventually going to get courted by Judgment Day. And the payoffs have been so wonderful. They've been magnificent. I mean, can't tell any better. Remember Happy Corbin? We still had that storyline going on, but it was just was a holdover. And remember, what was it? Usos and Street Profits were going on for the tag team titles. But now Jimmy and Jey might have been still around, but the whole deal with them and the titles, they were in the Bloodline, but it wasn't even so much where they were so involved. When you got them so intricately involved in the friction between everything going with the Bloodline because of Sami Zayn, when you brought that right there, and then everything just started coming undone and unraveling. The Usos now individually are just such a, Jey Uso right now is at such a level. The difference between him going up against Roman Reigns, in 2020 to now is a major difference. It's incredible. Then you had Liv and Ronda, and then Liv now has been tag team champions, and Steve Billy built her up, and Ronda Rousey really did a good job for her, getting Liv over to a point, to as best as she's going to be. And then remember, had that last man standing match, Roman and Brock for the umpteenth time. But that main event has been so fresh since then. Whether it's been Cody or whether it's been, whatever there is, it's been very fresh. And to not put Roman out there every week or every month to go up for the title. Like, you've seen that the title for him, that Universal title, has been made very special. And maybe I'm starting to win over the World Heavyweight title. You know what? I know I really complain about being a consolation prize, but I think what's been happening in the last few months, the way they've been setting up, the way they did Finn Balor and Seth Rollins to set up for this match coming up, I can't complain about it. I just think that Seth Rollins has been set up to be a strong champion. They're taking a lot of time and building. Like the build up for everything going on, for things that matter. Now, sure, could it be a little bit overkill? Maybe, but it's not. So the Judgment Day comes out several times across a lot of different shows, but they're not getting overkill. And the Bloodline is also not getting overkill. I think they're doing just enough to also keep it where it's just as much as people want, but also not too much. How they've done it has been remarkable. You can have packages in here and you can intertwine, but they've really done a good job of that. Plus, you have real distinctive differences between both Raw and SmackDown every week. It's great. And with the factions you have, there's so many different spots that you have just to kind of just, you're creating a bit of enough variety. Meanwhile, you're doing, the same kind of matches where you're just kind of just shuffling the partners of the same feud, but it's just different. The TV's never going to get much better than it is. Like there's a threshold to that. The fact right now that Raw is able to go ahead and pull 1.8 million viewers and stay around that spot, commendable. They figured out the formula. The difference is going to be, will Monday Night Football take a dent like it normally does, a big enough dent? Which it can, which it will. I mean, there's just nothing you can do to counter program that. You're just going to have to hope that loyal audience wants to stick around and still watch more wrestling because they're really interested in it. When I look at it overall in the last year, now AEW has gone through a lot of different changes themselves, but no matter what, WWE still being the number one company, bar none. AEW as a solid number two. Impact Wrestling now has definitely solidified at number three. I'd put Ring of Honor fourth most significant wrestling company there is, especially the TV companies. And then I would put MLW now at a solid fifth, NWA is six. But NWA, what can you do, man? They just had so much turnaround. And some of the changes they've had to go make, and some of the people they've had to have, I mean, they're doing some of the things right now in NWA that they need to do, much like MLW does. Start working with some other feds. I mean, the collaborating with Pro Wrestling Noah and AAA for MLW helps them out. NWA working with AAA helps them out. They have to do it. They got to get some more involvement and get more intertwining all together. And then AEW, with their attachment to Ring of Honor and setting that brand standalone, which I got to talk about Death Before Dishonor. I did watch that over the weekend. I bothered not to do a post show. We really didn't have anything. There wasn't any real title changes, right? So it was just there. But I'll talk about it a little bit later on. So that's what we had at SummerSlam last year. And then work our way up. When you work your way up all the way up into this year, and just look at the highlights of what they've done and what they did leading up to now, is quite commendable. The Bloodline, first and foremost, is the reason why. But they have, of course, had a couple of their other issues. Like, if you want to talk about still the most disappointing thing of everything, was going to be Bray Wyatt. You bring him back, and for whatever reason, it just does not pan out again. It's just a shame. People want to see Bray Wyatt back out there, but they brought him back. It failed. Back to the drawing board. And I don't know what they do with him. I don't know what you do. Remember, it was a year ago, Sasha and Naomi drop out. They walk out. And then all this other stuff's going on, right? And, right before we get into the space with Money in the Bank last year, Liv Morgan and Theory, they have been built up really well thanks to the Money in the Bank cash-ins. That's actually worked. It's been effective. And then we moved past SummerSlam, and a number of things that were going on we talked about was the mid-card was starting to matter more. And that was the first thing to build up initially from everything that was going on, which made sense. You had to do that. So leading my way through the fact that the mid-card was starting to make a bigger difference, they were doing a lot more to really focus on the mid-card, to give that, the internal region of the show people were watching, to get people interested and get them into all caught up on it. And that's one of the things you had to go make sure you do first, was the mid-card. After that, you go into what I call Tony Khan's playbook. So the returns, return. You kind of do like what they did with all those big WWE stars leading up to Grand Slam. Dynamite Grand Slam, the first one, right? With Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole coming in, and CM Punk, and all that's going on. So you had Killer Cross, Dakota Kai, Dexter Lumis, Bray Wyatt, Johnny Gargano, Sasha Banks, Naomi, all eventual returns that they were looking for. The booking matches ahead of time, and they've kept with that. Not just giving us insta matches like normal. We still get those, which make me cringe, but they're okay. The worker matches, we're getting longer matches as well. We were getting that too. The factions and the tournaments. All that was working right. Like, remember, you're getting a number of things that are tangible, that are important every week leading up to every show. A big difference. You're letting people know where they're going to be at. They're promoting which stadium's going to be, which city is going to be at. They're promoting the fact of what they're doing in terms of the shows, in terms of who's going to be out there, who's going to be performing. You at least have 2 or 3 reasons to watch every week. Well before you watch Raw. You're getting promotion well before. They're marketing, promoting, and they're promoting across the board on a lot of different ways. It works. Let me put it to you like this. LA Knight's one of the greatest examples of how good this company is doing. You're not going to like me saying this either. But LA Knight, he's one of the most over people right now with the crowd that hasn't been given a reason why. He loses a lot of matches. He lost this past week the chance to go to the U.S. title in that Fatal 4-Way. I mean, what else do you want? He loses to Santos Escobar on house shows. He loses to Rey Mysterio on house shows. He loses to, whatever. Like, his win-loss record's horrible. And he's been more or less a heel, and they want to convert him into a face. But the crowd wants that. And they continue to go ahead and go off for him, so you know what? They give him some promo time. So you think he's going to, he deserves to be a champion, but they haven't given him a reason not. Well, why? Nothing at all. So what do you expect to do here? What do you think they're going to do with him that's going to make him worthy? Like, you want to build him up as a star that's going to be on the come up? Okay. Have they given him one tangible feud since Bray Wyatt? No. I'm a broken record right now. I've said this for a couple of months, but that's okay. I'm going to keep bringing the point. I bring the point up tonight because of the fact that that's how good this company's doing. He's a mid-carder. He's a guy that loses a lot of matches. But yet the guy has a promo ability that is over with the crowd. And sure, there's a lot of people that want to keep talking about, give the guy a chance, give him a chance out there. It's Eli Drake. He was really good at Impact Wrestling. Well, you know what? And they haven't done it yet, have they? And it works. And then I brought up in August, again, 1 month after we're getting all this done, the playing field is starting to change. And I said to myself, would the other wrestling companies have a chance to compete? No, they're getting elevated as a result. I will say that. We see Impact Wrestling get better ratings now. We're seeing MLW, making the move in the pay-per-views. We're seeing NWA, expanding themselves, trying to get themselves to a worldwide audience, taking the chances. They're all saying, listen, wrestling's hot right now. Let's get out there and do something about it. Which is what all these companies are doing. AEW also trying to expand into bigger markets and bigger stadiums, doing TD Garden, just a couple weeks ago. And going to do Wembley Stadium at the end of next month, right? All of that. So there's all this that's going on. And one of the things I remember we talked about back before was obstacles that Triple H was going to have to overcome to get things up and going. And one of the things that Brian Gerwitz, who wrote for SmackDown and was, constantly always one of those go-to guys that was a former story writer, along with Kurt Bauer, that always talked about what the WWE is doing. And it was back in August of last year when he was on the Ariel Helwani show that Triple H has a new fresh car smell, and it was about keeping the momentum going. He's done it. Accentuating the strengths of the brand because we've been intimately familiar with it when it comes to NXT, but maintaining his momentum and coming up with some positives and a fair share of fans being excited about the changes. But he did it. And as we talked about, before all this, he brought out Dexter Lumis, Karrion Kross, Hit Row, and others. And notice all those names did not pan out. They got their main roster shot. It didn't work. They tried Miz and Dexter Lumis. They hit Row out there and whatever. And then you have Karrion Kross. That's just not panned out. And, they were gimmicks, right? All gimmicks. Hit Row without Swerve? No. Karrion Kross, a gimmick that honestly, listen, I like Karrion Kross a lot. And Scarlett, I love a lot. But, what they try to do here, anything that's brooding or anything that's kind of sinister or dark or diabolical is not working. If Bray Wyatt's not working, Karrion Kross is not working. And Dexter Lumis, definitely not working. It was a gimmick that works kind of like an indie gimmick. Okay? It's not going to work here. It's still Sam Shaw. Okay? Samuel Shaw, same thing. I'm sorry, Index, no, it will not work. But you can keep trying to figure out what it's going to be. But like I said, we had all that going into Survivor Series. And it didn't work. It wasn't effective. All right, whatever. So they tried. They give it a shot. I give them credit for that. And then we move along. And I asked if the black and gold pillars had potential to move forward. Well, of the names that actually I talked about, Gunther has panned out. And I think Gunther's coming out party was Clash at the Castle. Like, really, that was him and Sheamus. That barn burner, it also brought Sheamus back up. Brawling Brutes has not necessarily got me anywhere at all, but hey, that's okay. At least they were trying, But then that's what also happened. After SummerSlam, when you had certain pay-per-views, all you had to do was just change the dynamic. The fact of Nick Khan and his contribution to get into some bigger stadiums, also expand the international audience, get the shows out of the U.S. So taking this show to Cardiff, Wales, massive. Okay. And for the fact that, Wembley Stadium and London for all out London, it's going to be the same thing. And then you move along. And I talked about where there's the main event needs right now for what really did expose what Triple H was trying to do. Because when you look at the stars they had, they were pushing, what was it? At that time last year, at the start of Monday Night Football in September, I talked about how the main roster issues were going to have to be addressed sooner than later because Monday Night Football is coming up. So at the time, Kevin Owens, Edge, Theory, Seth Rollins, with a little mix of the bloodline and a building up of Judgment Day. But Judgment Day now is standalone. What I thought was actually going to was not going to do well. Judgment Day starting with Edge and then splitting off and putting Finn Balor in, I thought it was a mistake. I'm wrong. I'm saying I'm wrong. Finn Balor now mixed in with Damian Priest, Dirty Dominic, Mysterio, and Rhea Ripley. It's good. It's good because I think Finn Balor now in this World Heavyweight title feud with Seth Rollins, he's back up there. And Damian Priest, you've given a purpose to him. He's got the briefcase. Dom has the North American title. Rhea has the women's world title. All's well. Judgment Day matters. Matters. They are over. And they're using that. It's another faction like the Bloodline that works. I mean, you can't do much better than that. I mean, dare I say, two factions that were at a hot stage. You could have said the last time we had it was what? The Shield and the Wyatts? It's been a long time. But here we are. We're at this point, and they figured things out. So Monday Night Football comes through, and then you know what? The change in the part-timers. Not bringing back the old folks, bringing back Goldberg for another shot, or, you know, the purpose of what people were being doing for what they were doing, right? When you include Logan Paul, and you sign him to a deal, smart. Logan Paul comes in at the right amount of time for whatever. Had his match with Roman Reigns, kicked ass in a losing effort, but still great match. Like Logan Paul has really, he's impressed. He's been very impressive across the board. They did the White Rabbit thing to build back Bray Wyatt towards the end, and you know, it was like all working. Extreme Rules, the Bloodline, all that set up. They were just getting things right. They were figuring it out. It was just, I mean, you're going through and you're figuring out what they're figuring out right just to get things where they need to be. So like I said, we go through Sami Zayn, the whole storyline with him, into War Games. Using the War Games concept into Survivor Series. Smart. The real turning point was the Bloodline and Sami Zayn and his booking in that. Edge taking himself out of the Judgment Day and feuding also made a big difference. Like there were just a number of things that were moved at the end of last year that really did it. That really did it. I don't know. It's just it just starting to come into play. And then even with some other things that were going on, like, you know, Mandy Rose excelling with Toxic Attraction down at NXT. Matt Riddle, before he got into the issues that he had, right, with the rehab and the drug abuse, unfortunately, being caught with a wellness policy, that guy was on a move, big time. And then we get to where I had to talk about where Triple H couldn't continue with Vince's rejects. When you already have certain stars that were the NXT stars that you thought maybe we could do something with them and maybe we can do something with them and get something out of them. Well, my problem was that it wasn't going to be done. And there's still some they're trying to try with. You know, they still got Bronson Reed back out there. They brought back Tommaso Ciampa from injury. They're trying. I mean, I can't say they're not. But it's been a lot of issues that are going on. They're trying to figure things out, but that didn't hamper what was going on. And then, of course, the excitement really went to a fever pitch because of what was going on behind the scenes. Vince coming back. Because people were just kind of just shocked. And by the way, WrestleMania selling out. Remember they were struggling to sell in Dallas? And they sell out WrestleMania. Like that. We move along past all that. And the blueprint for the Bloodline's possible demise, all that being set up, Cody and Roman, everything set up there. Elimination Chamber also setting up things with Sami and Roman. And honestly, when you see Elimination Chamber in Montreal and that crowd getting behind Sami Zayn the way they did, and you get to the storyboarding for WrestleMania 39, masterful storytelling, soap opera storylines, was finally getting to that point. And I loved it. All of it. how you created other stars, elevated other stars to main event status as a result of what you did with the bloodline. Cody's involvement, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens' involvement, all of it. Solo Sikoa being added into the mix. I mean, you made so many stars right now that individually just will get such a pop. Incredibly a pop. Meanwhile, you have others that, you just intensify the fact with Shinsuke Nakamura. You get him out there, his chant goes on. Seth goes out there, his chant goes on. And there's a lot of things that are going on that people are always getting into and getting involved and engaged into. Gimmicks or catchphrases or things that people want to do to get engaged with the crowd when they go to the arenas or to the big stadium shows, they're doing it. And I'm just like, you really have to just commend what this company's done. Because by WrestleMania time, they figured it out. And I'll tell you how they can figure it out. Because you know what? I started getting some really good numbers on my shows because I started seeing everybody was getting into it. Like, WrestleMania season this past year was rocking. Have they lost any momentum compared to previous years? I don't see it. Do you? Compared to what they were doing, like, listen, Bloodline is still rocking. Civil War, all that going on. It's not getting old. We don't even care if Roman hasn't defended the belt in a long time. Cody. Hey, man, you got people winning over the fact that, okay, Cody and Brock were going at him again, but Cody just does these promos, man, and then Brock comes out there and just, becomes just a beast, and you just can't help yourself. You just get yourself caught up into it again. I wasn't necessarily ready for Seth and Finn one more time, but now I am. You found a way to make me care. That's what they're doing. The soap opera storylines, this emotion that we're starting to emote in the storylines. We feel for the characters here. We care about them. We have an emotional attachment to them. Do you understand? It's actually what's happening. It's psychological. You might not realize that, but we're starting to get ourselves into what soap operas are all about. You get emotionally attached. You start caring about the people because the way they're talking, emoting, it's real. It feels real. It feels legitimate. And it's great. And I don't care what Vince Russo says. Of course he's going to defend Attitude Era until the cows come home. Of course he's going to. Because he's going to say what he wants to say, and he doesn't want to give anybody else the credit and think, oh, well, somebody else did better. No. That's fine. WrestleMania Hollywood. They did it 2 nights. It rocked. And I compared WrestleMania after all that was said and done, right? Widening the gap, I said. Widening the gap on the wrestling world. Logan Paul, Bad Bunny, the multi-layer bloodline storyline, all this working out correctly. Couldn't have done better. Couldn't have done better. And all we're doing right now is talking about what they've done since the start of the year. Like, we're in such a good place right now, just seeing what they're going to set up. Like, just the matches they have set up now coming up for SummerSlam. Rocking. What a fucking great show we got coming up. Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Tribal Combat. You set up such a stipulation. Listen, and the stipulations mean a lot. Like, there's a lot that Roman Reigns has to lose if they even thought of going to Jey Uso right now, which they made it believable enough that it can. So when you look at that right now, okay, not only is Roman Reigns he's putting up the title, he's putting up the tribal chief. Shit. I mean, Tribal Combat, that's just not a gimmick match anymore. That's fucking great, man. Wow. You're just stepping up with another spectacle match, another epic spectacle that's going to be coming up, which is awesome. And then you're setting up like the rest of the matches. I mean, you're going to go with 7 matches already set up. It's fucking awesome. Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, World Heavyweight title. You set it up, and like the build has been great. Let me tell you, 2 weeks ago, the face-to-face, the interruption that I played for you on the program, I mean, I am still talking about it. I'm still thinking about it because I'm like, that's what sold me on this match. Take my money. You got me. I'm all in. Cody and Brock, all in. They haven't done that much with Shayna and Ronda. That's okay. You don't have to do that much. But the fight we're going to have now, they can build up that, they got another week. But Shayna and Ronda, we already set things up. And the thing is, you don't really need to do promos or anything like that to really build it up at all. Like, it's just, they're going to be two MMA fighters that are going to go after each other. I'm just wondering how it's going to turn out. It's too bad it's not a fight pit, or if it's like a fight pit, it would be nice, but, a grappling match, I could see that happening. That'd be pretty cool. The women's title, I will admit this. I don't want to see Asuka and Bianca Belair. I necessarily didn't want to see that again. I know some people are all pissed off that Charlotte's part of this. I'm not necessarily so keen about it, but that's a good triple threat to do something with. I wish we could do a little more development with Charlotte Flair. A little too cocky for me. I wanted a little more diabolical. You know what? What can I say? I want her to be more like Rick. I want to be more like her daddy, where when she does lose it, she loses it. And she gets very ruthless. She can do that in the ring, but I want some of that. I don't want her to be so formidable and so egotistic. I want the ego to take a hit, and then she bounces right back up. That's what I want. Ricochet, Logan Paul. Now you got me involved. Now you got me interested in this match. And what can I say? Ricochet flipping out of the ring and confronting Logan Paul? Yeah. You gave me something viral. Logan Paul taking a super kick made it viral. You got me. Ricochet. Fucking Ricochet. Listen, this ain't Ricochet Prince Puma from Lucha Underground. This is Ricochet that they've been keeping mid-card, and they made him try to be a superhero. And they just kind of buried him. And they've just not done a good job with him. They're giving him a chance here. I'm kind of shocked by it. I'm very happy with it. But now we have this here. And Gunther and Drew McIntyre is not going to be a pushover either. It was a fucking great match. Gunther and Drew McIntyre, yeah. And that was the originally IC title match. We're gonna after Sheamus got his shot, that Drew McIntyre wanted to have his shot. He's back now, and Drew's still hot. Hasn't been much in ring to really for much of anything, but Gunther has, and it's been great. And by the way, Riddle was dealing with Gunther and all that, and Riddle's not even involved. He's still being punished, I guess. He's just not anything of significance as of yet. They're letting him get back into it, which is nice. He's working, but nothing more than that. No LWO this time. We're not going to get that. No Theory. By the way, we're not also cramming a bunch of matches just to cram a bunch of matches. Like the fact that the U.S. title's not on here. I also like the fact that SmackDown, we get special matches right before pay-per-view. So, if the U.S. title's going up on the line, right now we're going to have that contenders match with Rey and Santos. By the way, people can go and complain all they want about LA Knight not winning and not being in this match and not competing for the U.S. title. Fuck it, man. What a great fucking storyline with Rey and Santos. If you want to tell it, if it's Rey turning on Santos, well, they're not going to do that. Rey's not turning anymore. But Santos turning on Rey, I mean, you could do Rey turning on Santos, but no. Santos turning on Rey, and then Santos taking over LWO. Because I can see something where I see the part where LA Knight, listen, you want to go after that? That's just a nice carrot right over there. But Santos Escobar, King Cuerno from Lucha Underground, the upside's for him. And to work with Rey, who's been his protege, and all the talk they've been having, yeah, baby. Yeah. Rey and Santos. I want to see these guys at it. Because Rey, to help get Santos over. Because the truth is, Rey did help Dominic a lot to get him over. I mean, Dominic did what he did, but let me tell you, with Rey in the mix, I mean, if Dominic and Rhea are not going over and interrupting every damn holiday at the Mysterio household, it just doesn't work. Like the setup of him being the bastard child, right? Being the guy that's like, oh, he's the punk ass bitch, whatever. Dominic Mysterio, what a great fucking character. Fantastic character. Now I like him. That's a heel I like. Good stuff. All that. The whole Judgment Day. They just got it. It's what they figured out in a whole fucking year. Give this company some credit. They did it. They figured it out. So everything that was being thought about, like the growing pains, the transition, it took a year. But I'm not afraid to say that Triple H has made the turnaround. WWE has made a turnaround into a new era. It's not Attitude Era anymore. No more Ruthless Aggression. No more PG era. We're in a very real area. It's a new era right now. Hasn't been given a name yet, but we have a new era right now. WWE is as hot as it can fucking be. WWE is as hot as it could possibly be right now. Just as hot as the Attitude Era. Just as hot as the Rock and Wrestling Era. They did it. In this particular climate, with the way things are, yeah. And it couldn't be better for them, now that they're attached to Endeavor, the same people that own UFC and all the others, right? And to have that company now owning owning a controlling interest in the company right now, then still being there to make sure that his vision stays strong, right? Knowing that the Endeavor and Ari Emanuel won him there, and now you bring him in here and you're saying, okay, the broadcast deals are eventually going to come, and hey, we're not taking Fox this time. Big bucks, no whammies. We're going to go for something huge. That broadcast deal, I can only imagine. And of course, they're not going to announce it before AEW does. AEW is going to get a nice bump from Warner Bros. Discovery. They've already given them the TV show, the extra 2 hours. So that's good. I mean, there's a lot to be said right now. No one's competing with them. There's no wars right now, nothing like that. AEW is not going to come close to WWE anytime soon. Because WWE was only going to let AEW within their grasp as long as WWE was being mediocre. And Vince was kind of shitting the bed on a couple of different ideas that were not working. And some of the execution of stories that were going well did not. Right now, stories are being executed. The arcs are having arcs. And they're doing payoffs. And it's working. We're getting a soap opera right now on a bunch of different levels. And it is working incredibly well. I can imagine myself going back to some of what they're doing right now. Like, imagine, we're going to get documentaries at some point down the line. 10 years, 20 years down the line. A documentary on the fucking bloodline? Shit. That's going to be incredible. Listen, what they just have been showing of the bloodline, when they just go back and run clips, that shit's fucking incredible. I can't even tell you. The packages they do right now for Seth and Finn. Like all of that, man. It's working. They figured it all out. And I love what they did. I really do. All right. So like I said, I was going to bring up Death Before Dishonor. So I should go ahead and bring up that and what they did. I didn't really bring up much about the pay-per-view because of the fact that what they did, nothing really changed. When you look across the board, the matches they had were good. Okay. A bunch of 0-hour matches that I did not watch. Gravity fucking showed up and was like, wow, he's cool. Like a nice look. There's another AAA guy that we're going to start hearing a lot more of, which is great. Over Commander. Samoa Joe and Dalton Castle had a really good match. And Dalton Castle, they're not making him a big deal where they're going to make him be TV champion again. Samoa Joe's still strong. And they've kept, one thing is that, in Ring of Honor, Tony Khan has definitely kept title holders hold on the titles. That's what they've definitely done. Now, we did have a title change with Aussie Open becoming tag team champions. We did get that. And the fact that the Kingdom were in there, Best Friends were in there, but Lucha Brothers dropped the belts after a while holding on to them. So Aussie Open right now here. And it's interesting, where Lucha Brothers, we saw them tonight on AEW, which, okay, I guess they switch over. World Six-Man Tag, Mogul Embassy, strong. And Mogul Embassy has their own particular stars they will have. Some might be in Ring of Honor. Some will be in AEW. That's cool. They did the change with AR Fox. And did that switch over, which was kind of interesting. Katsuya Shibata. Daniel Garcia is getting over right now with the dancing. He is. That's working for him. That's cool. And Shibata, still holding on to the title here. That's all good. Fight with an honor, Dark Order. I didn't know Dark Order was still around, but yeah, they're still there. But they had a whole thing where a split off of the whole Dark Order. They fizzled that out, which is fine. Actually, it didn't need to go and make a time to make that change because it was just there, and Dark Order was for Dark, and now it's like, okay, we'll just split them up. Claudio, who won last year at Death Before Dishonor, so a year as champion, and he retains over Pac. And Pac, after all that was said and done after Blood and Guts, a lot of things happened there that Pac walked out, set up an animosity with Claudio, and things that were set up like that. And I'll tell you, Willow Nightingale, I really thought she was going to win. I thought she was going to be Women's World Champion. Gotta say this, too. Ring of Honor really giving a shit about the women's division. To think about when Ring of Honor had the women's division start up and who they brought on, it was fine, but like at this point, Athena, they're not going to let her lose that belt anytime soon. They really feel good about her. They're going to hold her right there. But Willow Nightingale, in the year plus that she's been there, working through Dark, working through into Ring of Honor, having a lot of matches there. What did I say? 32 wins. So Athena's been undefeated, and Willow Nightingale's had a whole lot of wins. And I remember, I still think about Willow Nightingale in MLW, you can go after in the featherweight tournament, and really impressing me against Holodead, and then moving along, and I'm saying to myself, wow. And then they move her in here, and then she's like, man, she's in great shape. Well, for a big girl, she's gotten herself in good shape, and they put her in there with Sky Blue, and it really helped out Sky Blue as well. And Willow's just like, she's good, man. Willow Nightingale would also excel in the knockouts division. I'll say that. I really think so. But I like that Ring of Honor was able to get, where Tony Khan was able to go and take that women's division and really step it up. Because it's at a good spot right now. It's not bad. But really, not much there. Okay, we did get the tag title change, but everything else was just, retain, which is fine. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. Plus, I had Barbenheimer, so I was not going to get a chance to watch and catch all up on that. It was just no time for it. So, what can I say? I want to take one story that came out this week from Bleacher Report, where people are starting to say, why did Cody lose to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? And Eric Beeston says it was the right call. So he makes the point, and I already said this before, Cody losing, it did not hurt Cody at all. If it was Vince's time holding the pencil exclusively, yes, it would have hurt. But Cody Rhodes is still top babyface right now in the company. Seth, a close second. But Cody is the top babyface right now. He's the white meat babyface. And he's allowing himself to be that too. And what they've done is with Brock Lesnar, more of the battle, the big obstacle, the big roadblock in the way from him going after Roman. And that was enough for Roman to have his other shit going on with the bloodline. Smart. You created a buffer to keep Cody out while this other storyline was being told. And Cody's storyline continuing because he hasn't been putting anything shitty at all. The Brock Lesnar program has been very solid. Okay? So, Cody recovering injuries and all this stuff, and he's still overcoming. Rubber match now coming up at SummerSlam. We don't know if it's a gimmick match or not, but still, it's like, shit. It's working. He's staying to his character. He has not lost anything. He gets a lot of promo time, and he still has the crowd in the palm of his hands. It's working. So I've given enough WWE praise this week. I'm going to leave it right there because also the other thing is that I'm dealing with an allergy attack right now. And so I have to record, and I have to keep stopping the recorder. And it doesn't matter how much flow noise or anything else I use. It's just kind of struggling with me. So it is what it is. We're going to leave the show like that for this week. And I'm just going to say it like this. Come back next week for another Wrestling is Real podcast. Okay. Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And of course, you can find me all over social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Trends, TikTok, at King of Podcasts. Come back next week for another Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.